Welcome back to my channel and to today's video. My name is Thalia and today we're going to be doing something different. I'm going to recap for you guys the 7th season of Game of Thrones on my iPad. Like many of you guys, I'm a student and I don't have time to rewatch an entire season before the new season premieres. So here I'm going to show you guys all of the major moments that you need to be aware of before the 8th season premieres on Sunday. So let's get into these doodles and the recap. Let's start with Aria. Aria killed the Freys that were involved in the Red Wedding. You remember the Red Wedding, right? It was where Aria's mom and her brother were killed. Next, she was going to go to King's Landing to kill Cersei, but she got a little sidetracked on the way. She actually met Ed Sheeran on the road, which was super random, but still awesome, and he's a Lannister. One of Aria's old buddies on the road, Hot Pie, from a previous season, tells Aria that Jon took back Winterfell from the Boltons. So, hearing that Jon took Winterfell back, she decides to head to Winterfell instead. There, on the way, she reunites with Nymeria, her direwolf, Sansa, and Bran, her brother and sister. Toward the end of the season, she winds up teaming up with Sansa to kill Littlefinger. Moving on to Sansa, she didn't have that many major things happen to her last season, but she was pretty much jealous that Jon was declared King of the North because, you know, she still thinks that he's a bastard child and not really a true Stark. So as a true Stark, she's kind of like, why are all these people loyal to him when I'm actually the oldest true Stark left? In the meantime, Sansa discovers Arya's bag of faces since Aria is a faceless man, and she again orders the execution of Littlefinger and sends Aria to kill him. For Bran, I'm not the best at doodling, so I decided to go with drawing a three-eyed raven for this one. But as you know, Bran is actually in a wheelchair still, and he can't walk. Now, what does being the three-eyed raven mean? It means that Bran has all kinds of visions about things that happened in the past and things that may or are going to happen. So, Bran and Mira arrive at Winterfell. Mira was one of his travel buddies. Sansa is super happy to see her. Bran is like, whatever about it. He doesn't really care because he's pretty emotionless by now since he's the three-eyed raven. And he touches the weirwood tree where he has a vision of the White Walkers approaching the wall. He sends out ravens to all the kingdoms to warn them, and in the meantime just keeps practicing his three-eyed raven skills, keeps having visions. Well, Sam gets to Winterfell. Samwell Tarly, by the way. He arrives at Winterfell and tells Bran that Lyanna and Rhaegar were married and are actually Jon's parents. Bran had a vision of their wedding and learned that Jon's real name is actually Aegon Targaryen, making Jon a Targaryen. Now, we'll get into that more a little later. Bran also had a vision of the wall falling due to the White Walkers knocking it down. And you know I couldn't forget about the Night King. He's busy marching his White Walker army toward the wall. While fighting Jon and Daenerys, he shoots down one of Daenerys' dragons, Viserion, kills him, then brings him back to life to use as part of his White Walker army. He attacks the wall with Viserion and tears it down, just like Bran predicted in his vision. Then there's Cersei, probably one of my least favorite characters on the show and someone I definitely hope doesn't wind up on the Iron Throne. Jon's on his way to King's Landing, and Cersei basically tells Jon to bend the knee or face her wrath. Jon doesn't bend the knee, doesn't want to pledge loyalty to Cersei, so she's just a little bit ticked off. Then Euron Greyjoy, which is Theon Greyjoy's uncle, offers his Iron Fleet to Cersei. Ellaria Sand and her daughter were responsible for killing Cersei's daughter in a previous season, so this is how Euron Greyjoy is helping Cersei get revenge. And Euron Greyjoy also destroys his niece's Yara Greyjoy's fleet. In exchange for capturing the Sands women, Cersei promises to marry Euron when the war ends. And in true wicked, evil Cersei fashion, she winds up killing Ellaria's daughter right in front of her by poisoning her, which is terrible. Then she sends Jaime to Highgarden, but gives up Casterly Rock to Daenerys. While in Highgarden, Jaime finds Lady Olenna, who he winds up poisoning. Now, you remember Lady Olenna, right? She was Marjorie Tyrell's grandmother. Well, she admits that she was the one who was behind Joffrey's death, and she tells Jaime to tell Cersei that it was her who plotted it all along. When Jaime returns, Cersei tells him that she's pregnant. Still not sure about who the baby daddy is, though. I have my suspicions it could be Euron, Could be Jaime, not sure. Later, Jon and Tyrion wind up getting to King's Landing to meet with Cersei. They show her a White Walker as proof that they exist, and she agrees to a truce but lies. She still doesn't believe them, still doesn't think that it's a big deal, and instead gets Euron Greyjoy to bring the Gold Company, which is just another addition to her army to make them stronger so that she can keep the Iron Throne. It's really shady, she's going back on her word, but that's Cersei for you. And ultimately, Jaime leaves Cersei and pretty much says that he's not going to stand for any of this. Moving on to Jon Snow. As I mentioned before, he was named King in the North, but he takes a quick sabbatical to go to Dragonstone to meet with Daenerys. She agrees to fight with him against the White Walker army if and only if he bends the knee. They enter a cave in Dragonstone, and Jon shows Daenerys cave paintings by the First Men, where they were fighting against the White Walker army gazillions of years ago. Before you know it, Jon and Daenerys start to fall for each other. Well, Jon, Ser Jorah, Gendry, and Ser Davos all decide to team up to capture the White Walker that they wanted to bring as proof to Cersei. They wind up getting into a fight with other White Walkers and get stuck. They're sitting ducks. Dany has to come to the rescue with her dragons, but, Viserion gets shot down and is turned into a White Walker dragon. Now she's only left with 2. After Jon manages to escape and everyone's together again, Jon and Dany sneak away to get it on and really fall for each other this time. As I mentioned earlier, Jon's real name is Aegon Targaryen, which was revealed by Sam Tarly and Bran. So what does this mean for Jon? Well, Jon's real parents are Lyanna Stark and Rhaegar Targaryen. They were married before, secretly. When Lyanna had Jon, she asked Ned to promise that he would protect her. He did, and took Jon in as his bastard son to make it seem like he was an unofficial Stark. By doing this, he was able to protect Jon, because if anyone knew that Jon was half Targaryen and that he had a true claim on the Iron Throne, which he does, Robert Baratheon's army would have tried to kill him a long time ago. So this whole time, Jon and everyone thought that he was just a Snow, a bastard child, and he wasn't. He is a true heir to the Iron Throne, you guys. It's amazing. Anyway, Tyrion Lannister, Cersei and Jaime's little brother, is now the hand of the queen to Daenerys. He's able to get Highgarden and Dorne to be on team Mother of Dragons, aka Daenerys' team, but he fails at taking Casterly Rock. Instead, he tries to get Jaime to convince Cersei to meet with him so that they can chat. Well, he winds up having to meet with Cersei alone and finds out that she's pregnant. And he also seems weirdly jealous when Jon and Daenerys get it on, which makes me think that either he has a thing for her or he's worried about something. I don't really know, but he gave them a weird look when he caught them. And finally, Daenerys. As you know, she wants to take the 7 kingdoms already and just get it over with, but Tyrion is like, whoa, calm down, be strategic. So she meets and listens to Jon in Dragonstone and, asks him to bend the knee, and then he says that he's going to, and he pledges his allegiance to her or whatever. And then she winds up going to Highgarden and burning Randall and Dickon Tarly, which Tyrion thinks that is a bit harsh and a bit much. Some other things that happen to Daenerys are that she's reunited with her former advisor, Ser Jorah, after Sam Tarly cures him of his grayscale. And she rescues everyone except Jon from the White Walker army when they were stranded during the fight to capture a White Walker. And she winds up losing a dragon to the White Walker army. So she kind of winds up leaving Jon there to himself, defenseless, and without anyone to protect him, which kind of sucked. But it's okay because they wind up sleeping together, and she doesn't realize that he's actually her nephew because remember, Daenerys is a Targaryen and Jon's like half a Targaryen, so that would make them related. And that concludes my recap of the 7th season of Game of Thrones. I hope this was helpful for you guys as you prepare to watch the 8th season premiere. And if you like this video, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.